This is your Classical Break, your daily dose of classical music. I'm Tyler Alderson, and today we'll be listening to Mozart's Adagio in B minor for solo piano. Besides being a gifted composer, Mozart kept his finger on the pulse of the musical scene in Vienna, and when he got the sense that something was popular or potentially lucrative, he shifted his composing focus to try to take advantage. Opera was one such area where Mozart thrived, and he probably would have been a notable composer if all he ever wrote was opera. The same goes for piano concertos. They were in vogue in the mid-1780s, and he wrote 15 of his 25 piano concertos between 1782 and 1786. He was riding high at that point, thanks in part to a series of subscription concerts, where he debuted new music for a large audience of adoring fans, and it was his piano music that was front and center, not only those piano concertos, but a lot of his solo piano works as well. He had been looking for work as a court composer, but between his successful operas and these concerts, he was doing just fine as a freelancer. Plus, he had a steady stream of commissions, so many that he sometimes was unable to follow through on all of his commitments. But it didn't last. In 1788, the Habsburg Empire joined its ally Russia in a war against the Ottoman Empire. War is expensive, and the same aristocrats and royals who once paid good money to see Mozart's music now had to tighten their purse strings. Mozart found it hard to do the same thing and rein in his spending, even as his income took a nosedive. Even though he was working as hard as ever, he fell into debt, and much more of his time was spent trying to rustle up more business. This wasn't great for his already fragile mental health, and it was in the middle of this dark spell that he wrote this piece. Normally, I don't talk too much about the key that a piece is in, but in this case, the fact that Mozart wrote this in B minor is at the very least curious. There are no other pieces and only one movement that he wrote in B minor. That one also in Adagio. It was in the middle of one of his flute quartets. There must have been some kind of reason, both for his avoidance of the key in general and his use of it here. It seems to be associated with particularly solemn pieces, and this one is certainly no different. It's emotional, complex, and deeply personal. Mozart uses all his expertise on the piano, the same expertise that made him so popular and wealthy in better times, to create a wonderfully expressive piece that seems to give us a glimpse into a very troubled mind. Here's Peter Bradley Fulgoni with Mozart's Adagio for solo piano. Mozart gives us a happy ending right at the end of a fairly dark piece, and maybe it's a sign that he saw brighter days ahead for himself, even in a bit of a rough patch. Thanks to Peter Bradley Fulgoni for putting that up on museopen.org, and thank you for listening. If you have the chance, please rate and review this podcast wherever it is that you're getting it. I'm Tyler Alderson, and tomorrow for your classical break, we'll be starting on Mendelssohn's Italian Symphony, a much happier piece than this one. I'll see you then.